Crazy stuff is happening. Crazy stuff is happening on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, a brief little, disclaimer. I get tired of giving these because you clicked on a video about a new show, but there will be spoilers. That should be obvious, but there really will be after about a minute or two. I'll let you know when I get into those. I will be doing a very, very brief reaction and review that is spoiler free, and then a little bit more in depth talking about some of the stuff happening in this episode. By the way, let me know down in the comments below if there's other stuff you want to see added into these reactions. Honestly, they're just kind of a nice break for me to talk about something pretty nonchalant in front of a camera. I've been thinking about adding, stills from the episode or stuff like that into them. If you want to see that, let me know. It would just take a little more editing, but it's pretty easy, honestly. It's not a labor-intensive thing. But, first couple I thought we'd just kind of smooth sailing through here. So here's the thing with this episode. I thought it was fantastic. There's a few weird moments in it that we'll get into in spoilers. And it's a bit of a pivot in terms of where we were left off in the previous episode. But overall, I think it was done very well. I think the writing was solid. I thought everything felt normal for the most part outside of one or two scenes, which I will get into. Sorry about the glare here on the Funko Pops. I don't know why it's that bad, but I suppose we can kind of just, maybe we could angle a little so that you don't have to deal with that as badly. Yes. Let's do that. You can see the corner of my room. Sorry about that. Behind the scenes action. This show is actually kind of blowing me away. Now, I wasn't expecting this, but I will say without spoilers, this show is selling me on the whole vibe and partnership between Bucky and Sam. I think it's doing a very good job with that. I think it's leading into a very interesting place. And I think that the whole legacy of Captain America angle is being handled for the most part tastefully, well, and also written at least fairly believably. Now, let's get into spoilers because I can't really dance around this anymore, and I'm giving you time to click off. I'm going to say straight up, I like John Walker. Now, he should not be Captain America. He should not have their shield at all. And there's a bunch of reasons why, actually, he shouldn't. The first up that you can see in this issue, wow, I think I'm in a comic book, this episode, is that the dude has an anger problem. Like, it's pretty bad. He is very easily frustrated. He has a hard time maintaining his cool, it seems like. He's more, he's much less old-fashioned than Steve is, very obviously. He is a new age soldier. He gets things done. He doesn't really care about your feelings. He's just going to push through it. And it is what it is. And if you can't get on board, you got to get out of his way. And he straight up says that actually in the ending of this episode to Sam and Bucky. When they refuse to work with him, he just tells them to stay the hell out of his way. This guy, it is pretty similar to the comics. Those of you who have read old Captain America comics, which I know is probably two of you. I haven't even read many of them. But from the original John Walker run, where he was sort of replacing Steve Rogers as Captain America, it was a bit of a disaster. The dude couldn't control his temper very well. He was brutal. He couldn't really hold up the mantle the way that he wanted to. Now, it's not to say that he didn't try to be patriotic and try to do what the government asked him to do and serve his country, but it's just that he wasn't well equipped for the job. That wasn't for him. That's the same situation that we're actually at here. John Walker does seem like a good man, at least in some ways. He's trying to do right by his family. He's trying to do right by the U.S. military and America in general. And like he said in the episode, he is trying to be the best Captain America he can be. He's not trying to be Steve. The problem is, though, that it was very distasteful how the whole U.S. government replaced Steve very quickly after his death. And especially because it seemed like they sweet-talked Sam Wilson into giving him the shield, or into giving them the shield so they could then give it to him. But with all of that said, I think that his story trajectory is very interesting. He's strong enough to be a viable Cap replacement for now. I don't think that he should stay as Captain America at all. But I actually like the character. Now, I'm not saying I like him as Cap. I think a lot of people are confusing the two. It's just like, I liked Thanos. I didn't root for him to win, but I really liked him. He was a good character. That's how I feel about John Walker. He's a well-written character so far. I hope they continue to make him that way. I'm sure that we'll see the cracks in the armor. He'll become more unlikable as the show goes on. But how he will interact with Bucky and Sam is going to be probably pretty crazy. Now, speaking of Bucky and Sam, their relationship in this one, it got a lot more, I guess, fleshed out, and it's going to continue to be obviously over the course of the show. It's 5 a.m. here. I haven't slept yet, but there's a lot of frustrating things between the two with their dynamic, obviously, and those are written into the show on purpose. Bucky, is just tired of Sam's crap in a way. Doesn't feel like Sam is really respecting what Steve wanted, and Sam feels like he tried to do the best thing he could, and Bucky's just on his case. And like he sort of inherited Bucky from Steve and doesn't want him in a way. It's interesting how this is playing out. It is very much like a buddy cop drama type thing, a buddy cop movie. So, with that said, the serious elements in this show could go one of two ways. I was very on board with the serious elements in the first episode. Even things like the racial mentions, stuff like that, it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's interesting to me. I know it's something that happens. People will debate the severity and frequency of how much this kind of stuff happens. That's a little bit above my pay grade, like especially in a short review like this. What I will say is that was handled very well in episode 1. Episode 2, on the other hand, though, it was a little odd in a couple places. This show seemed like it started off on a really good foot with this stuff, with the serious topics, and it still could be heading that direction, but it's almost like there's an obligatory 1 or 2 uncomfortable scenes regarding race every episode. And yes, I understand it could be because I'm whiter than the vanilla ice cream your mom has kept in the basement freezer for the last 6 months. It's even got ice crystals forming on it, just like my hair. Just took a shower, but for all you know, I ran a marathon. But it's just odd, like, how frequent it was this episode. It was only a few times, but it almost seemed like a quota type thing. Like, hey, we had like 2 mentions of it in the first episode. You gotta get 2 or 3 here in the second episode. It was a little odd because there was a whole scene that was very, very out of place in this show. At least it felt out of place to me, where the police actually showed up outside of this dude Isaiah's house, who you find out used to be a super soldier. I mean, he still technically is, but he's very old. And basically the police show up and they racially profile Sam Wilson. They ask Bucky, who's white, hey, is this guy bothering you? Because like they were both yelling at each other, but they don't care if Bucky was bothering him. And Bucky has to stand up for him and basically say, like, this is Falcon. I'm not saying that would never happen. It reminds me of I don't know, there was like an old skit. I don't remember who did it. It wasn't Key and Peele, and maybe it was just like a TikTok thing. I don't know. But like there was this skit floating around for a while now, where it was like Obama got pulled over and he's like, oh, just treat me how you would treat anyone else. And they arrest him because he's black. So like, I get that this is something that, is in pop culture, especially because of today's, divides and things that have happened. And a lot of serious stuff, again, that's like over my pay grade in terms of this review. But I will say the scene was really weird. Like, it was kind of out of left field. It was one of those things like, where did the cops come from? Did Isaiah call them? Like, why are they here? Why did they come to what looked like a predominantly black neighborhood and then tell the black guy who was talking to the white guy, hey, you're the problem here? It just seemed odd. Again, I'm not saying it would never happen. I'm not saying it never does happen. That would be a flat out lie and stupid. And I'm not that dumb. But it felt really randomly thrown into this episode of the show. And I guess what I'm saying by this is I just want them to handle this stuff tastefully. That's something I liked about Black Panther. Yes, it was a little heavy-handed, but in the end, it wasn't like, oh, but, the bad guy was right, the good guy was bad, and, you're wrong for no matter what you believe. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, hey, listen, the Wakanda could have done better here. Killmonger's issues here were not excusable, or they were not an excusable reason to try and start a race war like he did and kill a ton of people. Nobody was really fully in the right here. This was just messy, and this is why people become radicalized. That was kind of the thing with Black Panther in a way. My thing with this show is that if they're going to get into these topics, of racial division or political division or any of this stuff, I'm fine with it. You know, not everything has to be inherently political. Not everything has to be inherently divided or about a specific group, but human beings are very tribal. It does make sense. We gravitate towards what is most like us. This is true across the entire board of pretty much everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, just that is what it is. And a lot of life is learning to push past those things and, be better than that, and to see people for being people, right? And we know that. But in this episode, to randomly throw this scene in, like in the middle of a very important conversation, just felt cumbersome. I guess it felt like ham fisted writing. It felt very much like something the CW would do and not Marvel or not a serious MCU show. Again, handle these things with care. That's all I'm saying. Because you don't want to tokenize Sam Wilson. You don't want to just use him as a statement. This is a character that people like. Like, I am on board with Sam. I'm on board with Bucky. I like both of them a lot from the last couple episodes. So all I'm saying is after this episode, I just don't want them to drop the ball on what they could do with this, both in terms of entertainment, in terms of covering serious issues, and in terms of honoring the legacy, the in-universe legacy, because obviously he's not real, of Captain America and how that will be passed down. Bucky is very unhappy with how Sam is handling that legacy. Sam is unhappy with Bucky's attitude. We don't know really where this is going fully, but there are some things that we've seen in the trailers that seem to be pointing in certain directions. I will say the episode ends with them heading to meet Zemo again, which I will say is probably, he's at least top 5, top 4 best written Marvel villains in the MCU. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out, because this was a dude who knew how to turn the Avengers against themselves. He couldn't beat them. So his idea was essentially like, I can't kill Cap, I can't kill Iron Man, I can't kill Hulk. What if I get them to kill each other? This was a guy who divided the Avengers. So I'm really interested to see how they handle him in this show, in the upcoming episodes, if he will be the main antagonist other than the Flag Smasher group going forward, or if he will be just a secondary one for an episode or two. I just really hope he's also not mishandled. Again, please handle with care is kind of like the message I have from this whole episode is things could go really great from here, or they could really struggle. And I know the show's already written, so I'm kind of talking to no one but you. Hello. But I'm a little concerned and hopeful. I love the episode overall. I love both of them quite a bit. I have to be honest, I think the first one had more impact, but the second one did deal with a lot of stuff that I thought was really cool. And it also started to get into that dynamic, I wouldn't even say friendship yet, between Bucky and Sam. I think the two of these characters, as much as they don't want to be, could really play well off of each other as partners going through the future of the MCU. And I think the two of them together could do a good job honoring the legacy of Captain America. I think that, Bucky is sort of more from the past, Sam is more from the modern, and the two of them combined can really sort of hold that together. So I'm interested to see how those two characters sort of mesh together and how this all works out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Were you a fan of the episode? Were you not? Maybe you don't care about the episode. You just like listening to me talk. It's ASMR for your ears. Maybe, maybe you and your girlfriend, you put it on during special time. It helps you both out. I understand. I've been there. Let me know. Oh, be sure to check out the links in the description, please. It is actually very, very, very helpful. We have the Etsy shop down there, which is my wife's. And actually, I have designed official merch down there, some bracelets for the channel and some other stuff like that. So if you're interested, be sure to check that out. And also, we have a secondary Let's Play channel, which is podcast style, where we talk about a ton of different things and just hang out with you guys. We hope to see you there. Have a fantastic day, everyone. As always, stay shui. And as I said before, handle with care.